In the summer of 1958, a 10-year-old boy named Bobby Bishop vanished without a trace at a Catholic summer camp in the wilderness. One moment, he was there, fishing by the river. The next, he was gone. Hundreds of people searched for days, but there was nothing, not a single clue. Then, a year later, something chilling happened. Bobby's special hearing aid, his lifeline to the world, was found in a place so impossible, so terrifying, it sent shivers down the spines of those who had searched for him. A place that had already been checked 3 times. So the question is, if Bobby couldn't have put it there, who did, and why? It was a perfect summer that turned into a nightmare. It was the kind of summer kids dream about. Campfires under the stars, ghost stories whispered in the dark, and days filled with adventure. For Bobby Bishop, Camp Saint Malo was supposed to be just that, a summer of fun. Bobby was a bright, curious kid, always eager to explore. However, unlike the other boys, he faced one challenge. He was partially deaf. He relied on a special hearing aid, a small device that helped him navigate the world. It was his connection to everything around him, and on the day he disappeared, it was right there with him. That afternoon, Bobby had wandered off to a quiet spot by the river, his fishing line bobbing in the water. The air was warm, the trees swayed in the breeze, and for a moment, everything seemed peaceful. Then a counselor called out to him, "Bobby, time to head back." Bobby reeled in his line, picked up his things, and started walking. He was right behind the counselor, following the trail back to camp. And then, he was gone. A search that defied logic began. At first, the camp staff thought maybe he had just lagged behind, perhaps stopped to tie his shoe or got distracted. But minutes passed, then an hour, then nightfall. Panic set in. By morning, the camp was swarming with search teams, counselors, police, volunteers, even the National Guard. Over 400 people scoured the area, calling Bobby's name. They searched the woods, the river, the mountains, every inch of the campgrounds. Nothing. Not a footprint, not a piece of torn clothing, not a single sign that Bobby had ever been there. Days passed. Hope faded. No one could explain it. A 10-year-old boy couldn't just vanish into thin air, but somehow he did. Then, exactly 1 year later, everything changed. A discovery that made no sense. It was an ordinary summer day at Camp Saint Malo when a group of counselors made their way up the steep mountainside. The area was rocky, treacherous, and difficult to navigate, even for experienced hikers. And then someone stopped. There, lying on the ground, was something small, something metallic catching the sunlight. A hearing aid. Not just any hearing aid, but Bobby Bishop's hearing aid. The exact one he had been wearing the day he disappeared. For a moment, no one spoke. The air around them felt heavier, the silence almost deafening. The realization sank in like a stone. How was this possible? The section of the mountain had been searched multiple times. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Authorities, search teams, and volunteers had combed through that area in the days after Bobby vanished. And yet the hearing aid hadn't been there before. There was no way a 10-year-old boy, especially one with hearing difficulties, could have climbed that high on his own. The terrain was brutal, steep, and filled with loose rocks and thick brush. Even trained searchers struggled to get up there. And yet, here it was. Someone or something had put it there. An unsettling realization. The counselors who made the discovery reported it immediately. When authorities arrived, they were just as baffled. There were no other traces of Bobby. No clothing, no remains. Nothing that suggested he had ever made it up there himself. Just his hearing aid, placed in plain sight, almost as if someone wanted it to be found. The case was reopened, but no new evidence surfaced. No footprints, no DNA, no sign of animal activity. It was as if Bobby had been taken, and this was the only clue left behind. By whom and why? The discovery of Bobby Bishop's hearing aid should have been the breakthrough everyone had been waiting for, but instead, it only deepened the mystery. If Bobby had somehow made it to that treacherous mountainside on his own, why wasn't there any other trace of him? No footprints, no clothing, no remains. Just that one small device sitting in plain sight, as if someone had carefully placed it there. The authorities were baffled. The area had been searched multiple times before, and yet nothing had turned up until now. The camp counselors who found it couldn't shake the eerie feeling that something wasn't right. Some of them had been part of the original search party. They knew that spot had been checked. So how could the hearing aid have just appeared? The case was officially reopened, but with no new evidence and no fresh leads, investigators were left with nothing but speculation. Some believe Bobby had wandered too far, become disoriented, and met a tragic fate somewhere deep in the wilderness. His body never found. Others weren't convinced. How could a 10-year-old boy, partially deaf, have climbed to such an inaccessible place on his own? And if he had, why wasn't there any sign of his remains? Then there were the more unsettling theories. Some speculated he had been abducted, perhaps by someone at the camp or a stranger lurking nearby. But if that were the case, why return only his hearing aid? Was it some kind of cruel message? A clue left behind by the person who took him? And then there were those who believed something even stranger was at play, something beyond human understanding. Could Bobby have been taken by something not of this world? Stories of mysterious disappearances in national parks, of people vanishing without a trace, began to surface. People whispered about forces unknown and the eerie, unexplained cases where individuals simply ceased to exist. Bobby Bishop's case was never solved. His parents passed away without ever knowing what had happened to their son. The camp eventually closed, and the mystery faded into local legend. But to this day, those who hear the story are left with one chilling question. Where did Bobby go? And perhaps even more terrifying, was he ever truly gone? Or is someone or something still out there, watching, waiting? Bobby's disappearance remains one of the strangest missing person cases in history. No answers, no explanations, just a single clue found in a place he should have never been able to reach. So what do you think really happened? Was it a tragic accident, a sinister abduction, or something much darker? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you love diving into unsolved mysteries like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more eerie stories. Because the truth is out there, and sometimes it's more terrifying than we can imagine.